Hi, I'm an artist, and you know me. I love krita, so today, to spread that love even wider, here's a krita beginner guide. Enjoy! So before we begin the video, a thank you word to Austin EFE for recommending the video idea, and also to everyone who commented their krita problems under my post. Here are all the problems we will tackle in today's video. And of course, I will leave a timestamp so you can jump to different sections depending on what you need. So now let's talk about the first one of them, the pop-up palette. Or some may call it the weird circle UI thingy with a lot of brushes. On PC, you can open it up by clicking the right mouse button and it looks like this. So from what I know, this is something pretty unique to krita, and this palette is meant to be a quick access to a lot of different features that people use often. That includes choosing brushes. All the brushes on here are the first 10 brushes from your favorite tag. And you can do some quick brush customization like the size, the opacity, the angle and stuff. And you can also add more options by clicking this button on the top right hand corner here. You can choose colors with the color palette in the middle and switch the foreground/background colors with the two circles on the top left hand corner. And then there are a few navigation things like you can rotate the canvas with the outermost circle by moving the little gray button around, and you can zoom in and out with the slider in the bottom here. There are a few more little things here and there, but that's pretty much all the things the palette can do. And as I just said, to my knowledge, this is something unique to krita, and I know they are very proud of these features. And I do feel a little bit bad saying this, but personally, like very personally, I don't really use, I never really use this palette, mainly because for all the things the palette can do, there are shortcuts for that and they are usually faster. And I will talk about those in a second, by the way. As for other stuff like choosing brushes or colors, I like to have the actual dockers visible on my screen and pick them directly from there. Those dockers don't really take that much space on my screens anyway. And actually though, writing this, I suddenly realized how this palette can be utilized. Like in the case where people don't have that much screen real estate, like on phone or tablets. For clarification, I'm using krita on PC with a keyboard and a drawing tablet with no screen. So I don't know much about krita on mobile. And in fact, I tried downloading it once on my phone and was utterly horribly lost when I opened the app. So yeah, I have no experience with using krita on mobile, but I think this pop-up palette will be very useful because you don't really want any dockers to take up very valuable screen real estate there. It is limited after all, you know. And from my research, seems like you can access the palette on mobile by long pressing on the screen. But I don't really know if it actually works, so please let me know if you use krita on mobile. Anyway, let's talk about the shortcuts next. So as I just said, I don't really feel the need to use the pop-up palette because I mainly just use shortcuts for those actions. And again, I use a no-screen drawing tablet with a keyboard. And also, I am right-handed, by the way. And I have to tell you, krita has really good keyboard shortcuts. Why? Because most of them are a combination of holding some kind of keys and doing some gesture with the pen. So most of the time I can just keep my left hand on one side of the keyboard and my right hand is free to do all the painting and stuff. Like for example, for something like color picking, which I use all the time, I can just use my left hand to press and hold the control key and then tap the pen on the color I want with my right hand. And bam, I'm done picking a color. Describe this in words sound really long, but in reality, this only takes like a few seconds to do, you know? And by the way, I talk in details about more shortcuts like this in a separate video. Highly recommend checking it out because all the shortcuts I introduced there are pretty much all the shortcuts I use on a daily basis when painting. And if your main use for krita is also painting like me, then I don't really think you need a lot more shortcuts than those. And on the topic of shortcuts, let's talk about how to customize them next. So to do that, you go to settings on the top bar here, choose configure krita and then a new window will appear. Choose keyboard shortcuts on the left hand column and on the right hand side, there will be a bunch of different actions you can change or set new shortcuts for. And I recommend using the search bar to find what you want because there are just a lot of things in here, you know. For example, let's say I want to make a shortcut for the freehand selection tool. And as you can see here, by default, there is none for that. So we will click the custom one, click the none buttons beside that, press the shortcut you want on the keyboard. And if the new shortcut is already assigned for another action, there will be a warning message popping up on the screen. And in my opinion, unless you know what you are doing, when that happens, you should choose another shortcut so that it won't interfere with any other existing shortcuts. Because just to be safe, you never know when you're gonna need that shortcut, you know? So in our example, I choose Q to be the shortcut for the freehand selection tool. Because it is a free key and I am right-handed, so I prefer the shortcuts to be on the left-hand side of the keyboard. And because of this, I also changed some shortcuts to better suit my preference as well. For example, the default shortcut for adding a new paint layer is originally the insert key, which is literally on the other side of the keyboard to my hand. So I changed it to this key, which I don't know how to pronounce, and was located right on top of the tab key and very convenient for my left hand to reach. So yeah, that's customizing shortcuts. Next, since we are in the mood for changing things, let's talk about customizing brushes. And by the way, I won't talk about making brushes from scratch because I don't have any experience doing that, so really sorry. So for this, first you need to click on the brush you want to customize. Then click on the icon with a wiggle line plus 3 straight lines. It is next to the brush icon on the top left corner of the screen. And then a new window will appear, and if you feel intimidated, well, that is expected because there are a lot of things in here. And because it is overwhelming, let's take a simple example. One of my favorite brushes is this Charcoal 12 from the Charcoal K brush pack, and I love everything about this brush, from the shape to the textures. But there is only one thing I don't like about it, which is that it will change size depending on how much I tilt my pen on the tablet. So I want to change that. And on that pop-up window, I will look for the size, click on it, and as you can see on the middle part there, the tilt elevation is checked. And that's the reason why the size changing thing happens. And if you want, you can change it to size pressure sensitivity by checking the pressure option. And remember to uncheck the tilt, otherwise it will change size depending on both tilt and pressure. And then you can try the new brush on the scratch pad on the right side there to see if it is something that you want. But personally for this brush, I want the size to stay stable and not changing whatsoever. So I will just uncheck the size option itself. And I'm done with customizing this brush. Next, you have to decide whether you want to override the existing brush or save as a new one. And personally, I recommend always saving it as a new brush. Again, just in case you want to use the original brush one day, you know. And for that, click a Save New Brush Preset button on the top right hand corner. And another window will pop up. In there, you can change the name and the brush icon. For this, I will just use the same name with no tilt added in the end and erase the tilt part of the icon. And we are done. And again, this is a very simple example because I don't need to change a lot about this lovely brush. But in reality, there's a lot more things you can customize, and you are definitely welcome to dig around and explore more stuff. However, for the scope of this video, I will stop here and move on to the next one, which is importing new brushes. For this, first you have to have some brush packs, and here are some recommendations for some places that you can look for new brushes. The first one being Krita official YouTube channel. I found my ink brush pack there, which I do really enjoy. And the second one being the Krita forum. People post a lot of their own custom brushes there, so you can go and looking around to see if there anything that you like. Once you are done downloading the file, you will have some bundle file like this on your computer. And now you go to Krita and click on Settings and then Manage Resources, and then a new window will appear. Next, click on the Import Resources button here and you choose the bundle file you just downloaded. So please remember where you put the file, you know. And then click Open and you should be done. But you can check by clicking on the local resources, and you should be able to see the bundle name at the very end of the list. And finally, you just need to hit the close button and you are done. Now on the brush docker, you click on the drop down menu here and you should be able to see the brush pack name in there. Click on it and there are your new brushes. Sometimes there can be lag and there are not enough brushes in there. If that happened, just close Krita and open it again. Everything should be fixed by that. Still on the brushes topic, let's talk about brush stabilization. So you can find it in the tool options for the brush tool. And if I remembering it right, the tool option docker should be out on the screen by default. But if you don't see it, you can go to settings and then dockers and then check the tool options. And here is also where you can turn other dockers on, like the overview and stuff like that. Once you have done that, you turn the brush tool on by clicking the icon on the toolbar or pressing B, and the brush stabilization should appear on the tool option docker. There you can choose None, Basic, Weighted or Stabilizer, with None being no stabilization at all and Stabilizer being the most stabilization, I think. And as you can guess from the name tool option, it's not only stabilization for brushes, there are also a lot of options for other tools as well. For example, for the rectangle tool, there are options to fill it or not, or to round off the corners or not. So if you are looking for something that is related to a tool, highly recommend checking out the tool option. There are quite a lot of stuff in there. Next, let's talk about something different. Clipping mask, or here in Krita is called Inherit Alpha and Alpha Lock. Or preferably, I would like to call them the edge control cheating tool. Like, do you want to make the edge soft or hard? You got it all with this. So Inherit Alpha is the alpha letter icon that looks like this. And the Alpha Lock, which is something similar but not exactly the same, it is this checker light icon over here. Basically, they are the things that allow you to paint only inside a certain area. First, let's understand what alpha is. It is the transparent part of the layer, so whenever you make a layer in Krita, the whole layer will be transparent, and when you paint onto that, your brush stroke will be the opaque part, and everything else will be transparent. Now you understand that part, let's talk about the difference between Alpha Lock and Inherit Alpha, and how to set them up. First, Alpha Lock works on a single layer. For this, you just need to click on the checker icon here and you are good. And essentially, what Alpha Lock will do is locking the transparent part of the layer, Alpha Lock, so that you are only allowed to paint in the non-transparent part, and everything you paint outside the border here will be non-existent. Contrasting to that, Inherit Alpha only works in a group of layers, and instead of hard locking the transparent part, it hides everything outside the border away, like it is still there but just hidden. And that's the reason why you can do things like this. And here's how to set that up. First, you create a group layer with Ctrl G, and in that group, the lowest bottom layer will determine the area you want to paint in. And remember, this one will always have to be the lowest bottom of them all, like the bottom of the bottom. And then you create a new layer above that, click the alpha icon next to it, and now you can paint on that layer and have the same effect as the Alpha Lock. But now you can move that layer around and stuff because they are separate and independent. Or you can do it the fast way, which is pressing Ctrl-Shift-G, and Krita will automatically create the whole thing for you. And of course, you can create even more layers on top of that. As long as you check the alpha icon next to them, the same effect still applies. And the most important thing with this is making sure everything in the bottom layer is opaque and there are no little holes or anything like that. But if that happens, no big deal, just come back to the bottom layer and fill it out. And by the way, that is something we can work to our advantage. Like if you want hard edge, use a hard brush like this basic 5 brush here. But if you want something softer, you can go over the edge with a softer brush, like my all-time favorite, Charcoal Rock Soft, or my new favorite, Charcoal Tail. So basically, you can make the edge soft or hard depending on what kind of brush you use on the bottom layer. And of course, you can change this halfway through the painting too, because that's the beauty of Inherit Alpha, you know. Next, let's talk about references, or more specifically, how to import them so you can see them outside of the canvas. In order to do that, we need to use a reference tool. So there's 2 ways you can do this. The first one being open your reference folder, dragging the images directly from there into Krita, and then there will be a bunch of options appear. Choose the Insert as Reference Image and you are done. Now you can drag the reference to wherever you want. And the other way is that you can copy the reference with Ctrl-C like normal. And then in Krita window, press Ctrl-Shift-R and you will achieve the same thing. And finally, let's talk about how you can set up the speed paint, or in other words, time-lapse video. First, you have to open the recorder dockers by going to settings and then dockers and then check the recorder. After that, you should have something looking like this. But wait, now you have to download and install ffmpeg in order to make the time-lapse videos. So go to the ffmpeg website, which I will leave the link down below. Scroll down to the release build section, click and download this file, the .zip file. Once it's done, unzip the file onto your computer by right-clicking on the file, choose Extract All, and technically you can unzip to any file location, but I will just stick to the default. And then in Krita, on the Recorder Docker, you click the Export button. A new window will pop up, and then we look for the ffmpeg line. Click on the file icon at the end of the line and find the file location that you just unzip on your computer. And open the bin folder, click on the ffmpeg one and click open. And then the box should have the file location that ends with ffmpeg.exe like this. And you are done setting up to record and export the time-lapse video. Now you can play around with some settings in the Docker itself, like how long in between each snapshot, the program you take of your painting, what kind of file do you want to record the time-lapse in, with what size, what kind of qualities. JPEG will be lighter, but the qualities of the image is not that high, and PNG will have the higher image quality, but will take up a lot more space. And I recommend playing around with this so that you can have a high enough quality video to watch while making it as light as possible, because you know this kind of file will take up a lot of space on your computer. And if you want to delete some when you are done exporting the time-lapse video, you can click on this icon on the top right hand corner of the Docker here. A new window will appear, and in there you can choose which file you want to delete, and when you are done choosing, hit the discard button. And also, by the way, remember to click record when you want to record, okay? That is very important. And that's the Krita beginner guide. And once again, thanks a lot to everyone for contributing to this video by commenting under my post. And if you find this to be helpful, I don't know, maybe send it to someone you think might need it, maybe. And as for the questions about animating in Krita, since I am a noob myself, I will leave links to some hopefully helpful resources down below. For now, thanks for watching, hope you have a great day/night ahead, and see you later.